You can see him walking through the door right there.
And there is the President of the United States with the First Lady alongside him. A quick wave to the crowd as they begin to descend the staircase. Again, this is at the Butterfield Trail Air Cargo Center over right now near the airport. This is not at the actual airport itself, although the cargo center is on airport property.
And as you mentioned, we're not expecting for him to speak to media. It seems like he's been doing everything behind closed doors, visiting with victims, with first responders, as he's expected to do that here in El Paso. You can see there Senator John Cornyn. Let's see who else is there. Mayor Margo there as well.
Yeah, expected to greet the president were Senators Cornyn and also Senator Ted Cruz, who arrived last night. You can see Mayor Margo right there, right there on the other side of the vehicle. His wife Adair, First Lady of El Paso, alongside him. There is Senator Cornyn right there, stepping into view. Also, Governor Greg Abbott is also there on the tarmac with the president.
And you know, Mayor Margo saying that he was going to welcome the president as mayor of El Paso. He was going to welcome him, and you can see them there speaking there. Let's see, he's speaking to Senator John Cornyn right now.
We should point out the mayor and the president have had their differences, certainly, over the president's past characterizations of what El Paso was like, particularly when it comes to when the president referred to El Paso as a dangerous city. The mayor certainly taking issue with that. At a news conference a couple days ago, Mayor Margo, though, said he is welcoming the president in his official capacity as the mayor of El Paso, welcoming a sitting president. He says he does not want to make this political, the mayor said.
Yeah, there's Senator Ted Cruz, I believe. He's been here since last night. We were waiting for his arrival. He did go to Del Sol, and he met with victims and their families there. And we were able to speak with him there. There you see him hugging the First Lady, Melania.
Let's go ahead and bring in our political expert, UTEP professor, Dr. Richard Pineda. Dr. Pineda, what exactly are we expecting from the president today? I know we're not really expecting public comment. What should we expect?
Well, I think for a visit like this, the primary influence is to visit with victims, potentially law enforcement as well, to thank them and to try to assuage the situation. I mean, I think the one thing that has a lot of folks concerned is that last night the president tweeted a fairly hostile tweet towards former Congressman Beto O'Rourke. And so in some ways, the tone and the tenor of a visit like this, I think, is already off to a negative foot. As you reported a little bit earlier, Daniel, there is a growing protest at Washington Park, not too far from University Medical Center. I think that the community is still very uncertain and certainly based on what I've seen on social media, unhappy that the president is here. I think that tension will certainly have some effect on the nature of this visit.
Dr. Pineda, I want to talk really quick about the shooting. Now, you have posted that you were there at Walmart, that you've gone there in your lifetime. You are a native El Pasoan, as am I and Daniel. And, you know, my grandmother lives 2 minutes from there. So we're in a lot of pain right now. Is there anything that the president can do or should do to help the community heal right now?
Well, one of the things, Natasha, about the role of the president and the office of the presidency is to serve as a consoler in chief. And there's certainly notable examples where presidents have been crucial to not only unite the country after tragedy, but also to appear in locations or places where there has been some sort of a tragedy. I think this is going to be a challenge for the president. As you recall from reporting his campaign visit here to kick off the 2020 campaign, there was heated and hostile rhetoric on that visit. And in some ways, I think that this is one of the things that really put El Paso under the microscope. It painted El Paso as a dangerous place and created this linkage between undocumented immigration and the threat that they posed. So in some ways, I think that the consoler-in-chief role of the president should be front and center today. But again, I think that the challenge that this president has is that he's willing to engage in a much more slipshod fashion. And I think just looking at the tweets and some of the language that's already been used, it's much harder to capture that kind of energy. So I think that in some ways, what we may not be able to see on camera is the president talking to victims at UMC, and perhaps in those moments, those connections will be strong. I think for the community as a whole, however, that is not likely to happen after today's visit.
And some of the victims have said that they do not wish to meet with the president. So it should be pretty interesting once the president arrives at University Medical Center. You can see the motorcade beginning to leave the tarmac right now, the 2 American flags on the side, as is custom. And again, we are expecting the route to take them through Spur 601 and US 54, so those roads are closed right now.